Hello everyone, so let us start discussing the half-yearly biology solutions for class 7. So let us take this up. With MCQs we begin. So which of the following is the correct definition of a tissue? A group of similar cells working together to perform a function. That is the correct answer. Then which plant tissue is responsible for growth, cell division, meristematic tissue? Then which of the following is not a correct pair? This is what you need to remember. You have to mention which is not a correct pair, right? So it is plantae and mushrooms, because mushrooms, they belong to fungi and not to plantae. Which of the following is a simple permanent tissue? It is sclerenchyma. Rest of them are complex permanent tissues. Which is the correct pathway? Kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, urethra. This will be the correct answer. Which of the following is not a function of connective tissue? Communication, because that is the function of nervous tissue. So connective tissue support, it gives the support connective tissue. We see bone and ligaments, they are also part of connective tissue. Transport, blood is a connective tissue. Binding organs together, we have the areolar tissue. So these tissues are the adipose tissue. These tissues are all connective tissue. Communication is not the correct answer. Is the correct answer, for it is not a function of connective tissue. How many kingdoms are there in kingdom classification in living world? Now we study about 5 kingdoms. So this is the correct answer. In animals, which tissue type forms the outer covering, which is the skin lining of organs? That is the epithelial tissue. The epithelial tissue is the lining tissue. Which is the functional unit of kidney? Nephron. Nephron is the functional unit of kidney. Which kingdom contains multicellular organisms that absorb food like decomposers? So it is fungi. Fungi are the decomposers. Remember, Monera, they are unicellular. Here we are talking about multicellular organisms. So that is why it will be fungi. Which organ stores urine until it is expelled? It is urinary bladder. The urine is stored in urinary bladder, right? Which kingdom consists of organisms that are unicellular and lack a well-defined membrane-bound organelles? Here we have the most primitive of all kingdoms, which is Monera. Next one, what is dialysis? It is filtration of blood by machine when kidneys fail. Stem of fern, many of you got this wrong. It is rachis. It is called as rachis. Through which tube does urine travel from each kidney to the urinary bladder? It is the ureters. Ureters are the tubes. Alright, so let us move on to the next bit, which is question number 2. Give biological names for the following. So, the connective tissue that transport oxygen and nutrients in animals, blood. The excretory organs in Annelida, nephridia, they are called as nephridia. The cup-like structure in the nephron, it's not glomerulus. The cup-like structure is the Bowman's capsule. The glomerulus is the bunch of capillaries inside it. Small pores through which exchange of gases takes place, stomata. Reserve food material in fungi, glycogen. The removal of waste products from the body is called excretion. Dash is also known as packaging tissue, areolar tissue. Amoeba movement takes place by pseudopodia. Dash is the largest group of invertebrates. So if someone has written arthropoda, correct. Someone has written insecta, that is also correct. The excess of water soluble vitamins like B, C and K are excreted out in the urine. Choose the odd one out and name the category to which the others belong. Here the odd one out is the plasma. Let me zoom it a bit. The odd one out here is plasma, and the rest of them are parts of neuron. Vessels, companion cell, sieve tube, phloem, parenchyma. Vessels, they belong to xylem and the rest they belong to phloem. Starfish, brittle star, lungfish, sea urchin. Lungfish rest of them all belong to Echinodermata. Wheat, maize, bean, rice, beans because rest of them are all monocotyledons. Coil tube, glomerulus, collecting duct, urethra, urethra because rest of them are parts of nephron. Now match the columns. Reserve food, glycogen. Sclerenchyma, lignin. Sclerenchyma's walls are thickened because of the deposition of lignin. Involuntary muscles are not under our will. Lymph is without RBC and lichens are symbiotic association. Now let us move to the next part, which is state the exact location of the following. Urinary bladder, it is located in the abdomen, lower part of the abdomen. If you have written somewhere like abdomen, it is correct. Collenchyma, it is located below epidermis of stem and leaves. Cartilage, nose, ear, windpipe also, if someone has written trachea, then it is correct. Dendron, dendron is a part of neuron, or it could be, if you have written it is present in the brain, in the spinal cord, or if you have written it is present above the axon or the cell body, that is also correct. Epidermis, it is the outermost layer of the plants, right? So that goes for the location. Now we move on to the next one. Explain the term osmoregulation. Osmoregulation is the process by which the balance of water and salt is maintained in our body, right? Difference between aves and mammals based on, now here many of you misunderstood this or got it wrong. Here you have to give difference on the basis of their exoskeleton and a similarity with body temperature, right? So when we are talking about difference, so aves have feathers, whereas mammals have hair on their body, right? So this is the exoskeleton. Exoskeleton means what? Exoskeleton means outer covering of the body. Body temperature, the similarity is that both of them are warm-blooded, right? Now, draw a well-labeled diagram to show the stages of binary fission in bacteria. If someone has drawn the binary fission in amoeba, then also we have given you marks, because what we wanted to see was the stages of binary fission, whether you have understood the term binary fission or not, because it's the same in amoeba and bacteria as well. Write two difference between ligaments and tendons with reference to their function and types of fibrous tissue present. So ligaments, they connect bones, and tendons, they connect bones and muscles. So ligaments connect two bones, whereas tendons connect bones with muscles. Ligaments have yellow fibers and tendons have white fibers. So you have to mention the difference based on these points only. The diagram below shows the disorder in the kidney. Answer the following questions. So the kidney disorder that we see over here is the kidney stones or the renal calculi. This happens when the crystals of, just a minute, this happens when the crystals of calcium oxalate, calcium phosphate or uric acid deposits in the kidneys. So that is how it is. It identify the disorder, so half mark for kidney stones and half mark for how it is caused. Write two symptoms of the above disorder. So here we have blood in the urine, and there can be abdominal pain or the urine flow is blocked. Either of these, if you have written any two, you will get marks for it. Name other two disorders. It is urinary tract infection or UTI. If diabetes you have written, that is also correct. If kidney stones, again you have written, that is also correct. Alright, let us move on to the next question over here. And question number 4. Let us come to question number 4. So, how is earthworm beneficial to environment? So when we are talking about earthworm, it increases the soil aeration and it increases the soil fertility. It does not decompose. बहुत सारे लोगों ने लिखा it acts as a decomposer. No, it does not decompose. It consumes the soil and its excreta makes the soil fertile. And it also keeps on moving the soil, turning the soil upside down, so that it improves the soil aeration. Right, two ways by which bacteria are beneficial for human beings. A lot of things are there. They are used to prepare curd. They are used in curing of cheese, tobacco. They give flavor to cheese. They are used in curing of tobacco. A lot of antibiotics are prepared using bacteria. They serve as decomposers. So any of these you could have written. Identify the structure over here. This is a cardiac muscle. One characteristic feature. So someone has written that it helps to pump the blood, or it helps to it helps the heart to send the blood to all parts of the body. That does not explain character's feature. When we are talking about feature, we are talking about the structure. What you mention over here is, if you say it helps to pump the blood, it is the function, not the feature, right? So the feature is, it is branched. This muscle is branched. This is the only muscle which is branched. Where is it located in the body? Heart, right? So half mark for this, half mark for feature, and 1 mark for heart. Where is it location? Where is its location? So half mark for cardiac muscle is for 2 marks, right? So just a minute, so that you know the marking system. This is half mark for the cardiac muscle, half mark for it is located in the heart, and 1 mark for the characteristic feature. Distinguish between cold-blooded and warm-blooded animals. Give 1 example for each from vertebrates. So cold-blooded animals, they can change their body temperature according to the surroundings. Just like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, any example you can give from any of these organisms. Remember, from vertebrates you have to give the example. So you cannot use other groups. Okay. Warm-blooded cannot change their body temperature according to the surroundings. So you can give any example from any bird or any mammal. Now let us look at the next question, next part, which is the 5th part. It says, Ria's mother baked some bread and kept a few slices in a closed box. After 3-4 days, she noticed a greenish black cotton-like growth on the bread surface. Identify the organism on the bread. Label the parts B and C. So the organism is Rhizopus, or even if someone has written bread mold, then also we have given them marks. Bread mold is also correct. Parts B and C. So B is the sporangium and C is the sporangiophore. This long filament on which this sporangium is present, and A is marked as spores, which helps the molds to reproduce, right? So state 1 condition that favors its growth. So your moist and humid environment, optimum temperature, any of these you write and you will get marks for it. So all of them were for, this was for half mark Rhizopus, half mark sporangium, sporangiophore, half mark for name the structure, spores, and 1 mark for this. So 3 marks in total. Now let us move on to question number 5. Explain the term classification. This just a minute. What is classification? It is a process of grouping of living organisms on the basis of their similarities and differences. So when we are talking about grouping, on what basis do we group them? We group them on the basis of their similarities, we group them on the basis of their difference. Which type of simple permanent tissue contains chloroplast? The tissue is parenchyma. Parenchyma is the tissue that contains chloroplast. Where is this tissue located? It is located in the soft parts of the plant. And if someone has written leaves, then also it is okay. Write one function of it. So you can either write it helps in storage, or even if you have written it helps in photosynthesis. That is correct. So which type of, this is for 2 marks, so this is for half mark, this part is for half mark, and this part, one function, is for 1 mark. Name the bacteria which helps in the formation of curd, how it turns milk into curd. So the bacteria name is Lactobacillus, and how they convert milk into curd is the lactose which is present in the milk is converted into lactic acid by these bacteria. That is how they convert the milk into curd. Mention the significance of the following. Compound eyes, they give mosaic vision to the arthropods. Muscular foot in mollusca, it helps in the locomotion. Given below is an image of an vertebrate. Identify the organism. This organism is Hydra. Phylum to which it belongs, you can write either Cnidaria or you can write Coelenterata. Both of them are correct. What is the function of the structure labeled A? So A is tentacles which help them to obtain food, or if someone has written it surrounds the mouth or the opening, then also it is correct. It's the function actually you need to mention over here. Okay. Write one structural feature of this organism, means you have to write one thing about the structure. So it is body is bag shaped, or it is like a hollow sac, or this has one opening at one end. Any of these you have written, it is correct. Now let us move on to question number 6 over here. Give one difference between liver fluke and ascaris. Now if someone has written that liver fluke, the difference, if you are asked to write, and if you write liver fluke belongs to Platyhelminthes and ascaris it belongs to Nematoda, it is not correct, because you have to mention between the characteristic. That does not make a difference. You have to write about the structural difference. So it is flat shaped, it is round shaped, or it is a flat worm, it is a round worm. Then this would have worked. So it is not a difference. If you say, if someone asks you what is the difference, you say I live in sector 6 and she lives in sector 5. That is not a difference. Okay. So bryophyte location is not a difference, or group is not a difference. Of course, they are grouped different. They have a difference. That is why they have been grouped differently, right? So you have to mention that difference. Bryophytes are known as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Why? So yes, they can live both on land and water. That's why they are called as amphibians. But they also, because it is of 2 marks, you need to write they grow in moist, shady places and need water for reproduction. If you have written any of these 2 points, you will get 2 marks. Name 2 excretory products excreted by kidney. So kidney excretes urea, uric acid, nitrogen, and liver it excretes drugs, vitamins, bile pigments. Any of these 2, so either any of these 2, for each of them you needed to write. Mention the disease causing bacteria. Tuberculosis is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and cholera is Vibrio cholerae. So you need to get the name correct, right? Now Meera was helping her grandmother in the kitchen while sorting some pulses and grains. She tried, this explanation is given over here. The question is, when she tried the same with maize grains, she was able to split the gram seeds, but when she tried with maize grains, she could not separate them. Her grandmother said, you have discovered the difference between 2 types of seeds. So identify the type of seed. So you don't write this is maize seed, this is bean seed. It is already given over there, gram seed or maize seed. No, you have to write the type of the seed. So type of the seed is, this is a monocotyledonous seed and this is a dicotyledonous seed. That is what you are supposed to mention over here. monocotyledonous and dicotyledonous. Name the structure labeled X in both the diagrams. It is cotyledons and its function is storage of food. Above mentioned plant belongs to which group of plants? So you write angiosperms. If someone has written plantae, it is wrong because it is already mentioned over here that it belongs to plantae. So I hope that you were able to get all your doubts verified. So I hope you will find all your answers over here. Thanks for watching.